Hello and welcome to the news at this time on NTA International. My name is Frama Panyi and Hannah Olayenka is the sign language interpreter. We begin the news with the headlines. Federal government distributes 200 trailers of food to Borno State to assist flood victims. Nigeria is set to update its economic outlook to capture digital economy as National Bureau of Statistics begin revising living standards survey. The European Commission announces support to member nations affected by floods as United States and France call for de-escalation of tensions in the Middle East. And now the news in details. As electorates in Edo State prepare to elect a new governor this Saturday, President Bola Tinubu has called on all stakeholders in the upcoming Edo State governorship elections to conduct themselves peacefully and sportingly. In a statement by the Presidential Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the President implores the governorship candidates, political parties and supporters to respect the democratic process and the people's will. President Tinubu expressed his belief in the voters' ability to make informed decisions about their future leaders, while emphasizing that democracy thrives in civility, tolerance, patience and respect for the rules of the game. He notes that the Independent National Electoral Commission has committed to conducting a free and fair election and urges all stakeholders to work together to ensure a successful and peaceful process. The President commends the governorship candidates and political parties for their campaigns, which are focused on issues that matter most to the people of Edo State, including improving livelihoods, promoting economic growth, and contributing to national development. President Tinubu also expresses unwavering confidence in the professionalism and integrity of security agencies and INEC officials, urging them to remain impartial and avoid any actions that could compromise the integrity of the electoral process. And the Defense Headquarters says its troops are strategically deployed to ensure that the off-cycle governorship election scheduled for 21st September 2024 in Edo State is violence-free, fair and credible. In a statement, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, assures that troops are to support the police to ensure voter safety and thwart the activities of those elements bent on fomenting crisis during the elections. Similarly, troops eliminated 159 terrorists, arrested criminals 174 persons, 45 perpetrators of oil theft, while 188 kidnapped victims were rescued. Now, Corps Marshal Federal Road Safety Corps Shehu Mohammed has directed adequate deployment of personnel for the Edo State governorship elections. As part of efforts put in place and to ensure smooth conduct of the forthcoming Edo State gubernatorial elections, the Corps Marshal ordered operatives of the Corps to collaborate with other security agencies to enforce compliance on restrictions of vehicular movements. The directive also mandates the personnel to clear obstructions from the roads, carry out rescue operations in case of emergencies, and maintain orderliness in polling booths. Now, President Bola Tinubu is reassuring Nigerians that his desire to lead the country came from a place of passion to work hard for the general development of the country and not for self-aggrandizement. He said this when he met with members of the Forum for Former National Assembly presiding officers led by former President of the Senate, Ken Inamani, to the State House this Friday.
And I can assure you, I didn't come to look for money and exploit the situation. I came to work. I asked for the votes, and they gave it to me. We've sustained 25 years of democracy this year. We don't want to keep the people hungry and angry. But we say, be patient. There is no free beer parlor anymore. We will retool and rebuild the Nigerian economy. I assure you, with your cooperation. I thank you very, very much.
More details of the meeting in our subsequent bulletins. The European Commission has announced 10 billion euros in funds for member nations affected by the floods caused by Storm Boris, just as the United States and France call for de-escalation of tensions in the Middle East. Chukunonso Wambweze has the details.
UNICEF's Regional Health Advisor for Eastern and Southern Africa, Paul Ngwakum, says children in Burundi are bearing the brunt of the mpox outbreak with alarming rates of infections. He emphasized that Burundi is the second hardest hit country on the continent after the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Of particular concern for us as UNICEF is the rise of mpox among children under 5 years. This represents about 30% of the reported cases, and this underscores the urgent need for targeted interventions.
Ngwakum said 2/3 of cases in Burundi is linked to people aged 19 and below.
In most situations, these are children who have low immunity and they are suffering from other underlying problems. And with mpox, you will need critical treatment to be able to avoid them from dying.
UNICEF, he said, is urgently appealing for nearly $59 million to scale up responses across 6 African countries, including Burundi. The World Health Organization on Thursday, though with a warning that vaccines alone will not end the outbreaks, pledged to deliver more than 33 tons of vaccine supplies to the Democratic Republic of Congo to help tackle the epidemic.
And in Burundi, WHO has addressed a critical fuel shortage to ensure that WHO, our partners, and the government can conduct their daily mpox response activities at pace and scale.
A total of 25,093 suspected mpox cases and 723 deaths were reported across the continent between January and September 8, WHO said. Of those, 21,835 suspected cases and 717 deaths were reported in the DRC, while 1,489 suspected cases and no deaths have been reported in neighboring Burundi. Immunization with vaccines originally developed for smallpox could help stem the spread. WHO last week for the first time pre-qualified an mpox vaccine, the MVA-BN. And Ngwakum said UNICEF was working to procure doses for Burundi. On Thursday, mpox vaccines were administered in Africa for the first time, with several hundred high-risk individuals receiving jabs in Rwanda. The DRC has said it will begin its vaccination campaign on October the 2nd. Chukunonso Wambweze, NTA News.
Right, Chukunonso with that report on UNICEF saying youngsters are the most impacted by mpox outbreak raging in Africa, with children under 5 accounting for nearly a third of cases in Burundi. We apologize for that mix-up. Let's take you back to the earlier report, still by Chukunonso Wambweze, where the European Commission has announced 10 billion euros in funds for member nations affected by the floods caused by Storm Boris. The report.
The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen made the announcement on behalf of the bloc in Poland alongside leaders of 4 countries from the flood-hit region. She says it is heartbreaking to see the destruction and the devastation caused by the floods.
On one hand, there is the Solidarity Fund, which we can use to rebuild infrastructure, like roads, highways, railways, and bridges, for example. But I think this will not be sufficient when we see the enormous width of the disaster.
The EU chief also commended the enormous solidarity between citizens of the affected countries.
These are extraordinary times, and extraordinary times need extraordinary measures.
The death toll from the storm which struck Central and Eastern Europe last week rose to 24 on Wednesday, and some areas are still under threat from rising waters. Strong wind and heavy rain struck the region last week, killing 5 in Austria, 7 in Poland and Romania, as well as 5 in the Czech Republic. Meanwhile, France and the United States are calling for restraint and de-escalation of tensions in the Middle East. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, alongside his French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné, made the appeal in Paris at a meeting of U.S. and Western European diplomats to discuss the Middle East tensions hosted by France.
We continue to work to get a ceasefire for Gaza over the finish line. And as we discussed with some of you just a day ago, in Egypt, we believe that remains both possible and necessary. But meanwhile, we don't want to see any escalatory actions by any party that make that even more difficult.
Blinken said both the United States and France are coordinating to send messages of de-escalation to the parties. Séjourné, making one of his final public appearances ahead of a cabinet reshuffle that will see him sent to Brussels as France's new EU commissioner, said both France and the United States were very worried about the situation in the Middle East. Chukwunonsonwa Bueze, NTA News.
Now, in a significant crackdown on smuggling, the Nigeria Customs Joint Border Patrol Team Sector 4 Northwest Zone has seized a trailer load of equine bones valued at 186 million naira between April and September. This accomplishment underscores the team's unwavering commitment to combating illicit trade and safeguarding national interest. Suleiman Kodoki reports.
It's no longer news that the Joint Border Patrol security exercise is improving on the revenue profile of the country and enhancing national security, smuggling of drugs, and proliferation of small arms and light weapons. It is in line with this that the Task Force Sector 4 Northwest Zone has continued to record successes in its operations, such as the recent seizure of a trailer loaded with equine bones, 67 bags of NPK fertilizer illegally smuggled without proper certification. Other items seized are 3 Toyota Hilux vans, 50 jerrycans of vegetable oils, cartons of foreign spaghetti, and drugs.
Sector 4 has been actively combating smuggling activities along the land borders in the northwestern states. These states have been plagued by insecurity and smuggling, which poses threat to national security and the economy. In light of these challenges, our gallant officers have successfully intercepted numerous items that were intended to be smuggled in and out of the country at various locations and times.
Controller Aminu Abubakar further reveals that about 100 migrants were refused entry, while 3 victims of human trafficking were rescued.
We are handing over this arrested Sabita cannabis to those who are actually supposed to have handled it.
This is a display of interagency cooperation that is encouraged among all security agencies, and we are very much grateful for this.
He then appeals to media practitioners to raise awareness on the dangers of smuggling to national security. In Katsina, Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
Nigeria is set to update its economic outlook to capture digital economy, informal sector, and new ministries as the National Bureau of Statistics begins revising its Living Standards Survey, Consumer Price Index, and Gross Domestic Product to be released in November this year. To this end, the Bureau is dialoguing with experts towards ensuring that the 3 economic indicators accurately reflect the current structure and dynamics of the economy. Moplang Dakok reports.
1 decade after the last rebasing of Nigeria's gross domestic product GDP, this engagement is on the approaches and methodology to be adopted towards enhancing the accuracy and relevance of the Nigeria Living Standards Survey, Consumer Price Index, and GDP.
Given the bold and courageous economic reforms currently being undertaken by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, carry profound implications for our macroeconomic landscape and social environment. Hence, the urgent need for the conduct of the National Living Standards Survey and the rebasing of the Gross Domestic Product and Consumer Price Index.
Statistician General of the Federation, Adeyemi Adeniran expects a lot from the rebased GDP, considering that the last rebasing moved Nigeria's GDP from $270 billion to $500 billion.
Our result at the end of the day can be useful for government, for policymakers, for researchers within the country, as well as being able to compare our results with other nations in Africa and
The 3 surveys being conducted together with the World Bank will show strength of the economy and poverty rate, among others, in Abuja, Muplang, Dakok. NTA News.
The Federal Government Committee on Consequential Adjustments in Salaries has reached agreement on a particular option 1 week after its inauguration. Haman Jabane reports that the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, DD Esther Wilson-Jack, made the announcement after the committee's meeting.
The committee has, as part of its terms of reference, to negotiate and agree on the consequential adjustments in salaries arising from the provisions of the National Minimum Wage Act 2024. After 7 days of extensive and rigorous deliberations, the committee has agreed on a particular option that all parties involved believe will make workers happy.
So the committee has agreed on a particular option for the consequential adjustments. And to that end, the committee has signed a memorandum of association. That is, Labour side and government side have agreed on this particular option, and it is now left for the committee to forward its resolutions to government for further action. The assurance to civil servants is that, yes, we have crossed the first hurdle, and we believe that government will do what is in the best interest of the civil servants.
First of all, I want to thank God and then thank the head of civil service of the Federation. What I want to just say is we believe that what we have done fair to both the workers and federal government. And this thing, I believe everybody, when it comes out, everybody will be happy.
The committee says the implementation will take effect when the act is assented to by the government. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. We'll pause here, take a short break. We will return with more reports.
Relief is coming. More wages, reduced costs. Nigeria's national minimum wage is now 70,000 naira and it will be reviewed every 3 years. The federal government will commence immediate implementation and state governments are being encouraged to follow suit. With the presidential CNG initiative, transport costs are coming down. Are you a car owner or a transporter? Visit www.pci.gov.ng to find out how you can benefit from switching to CNG. This is the renewed hope.
Welcome back. Now, collaboration with relevant organizations will be enhanced to fast the implementation of the Federal Civil Service Strategy and Implementation Plan 2021 to 2025. Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, DD Esther Wilson-Jack, said this when she received the delegation from the Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, Association of Nigerian Authors, and alumni of Federal Government College, Ilorin. Haman Jabani reports that they were in her office for partnership towards achieving her vision.
With the bringing in of creativity and innovation to fast-track the vision to accelerate the ongoing civil service reforms under the Federal Civil Service Strategic and Implementation Plan 2025 with efficiency, accountability, and well-being and development as a driver, openness, collaboration, and continuous improvement must be enshrined in the Nigerian civil service. Having the Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria, who emphasize robust research and education, will play a critical role in impacting strategic leadership and policy implementation.
We are here to partner with you for greater impact in strategic leadership and policy implementation. This collaboration will be mutually beneficial, strengthening both your office and the broader public service.
The President, Association of Nigeria's Authors, who also doubled as the Vice President of the Alumni of Federal Government College Ilorin, congratulated the head of the civil service for her appointment and assured her of their support, while highlighting some of the projects the associations are embarking and need her support.
And to commend you and to stand with you, so that we believe that by time given to your track record, we believe you are certainly going to excel here again. Have no doubt about that.
Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Didi Esther Wilson-Jack, who is an alumni of Federal Government College Ilorin, went memory lane to thank the school for injecting discipline and imparting knowledge in them. The head of service assured that the office will cooperate with the Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria and Association of Nigeria's Authors in any way possible.
An alumni, I'm pleased to be a part of what you are doing in any way that I can. And I look forward to the AGM taking place next year. By God's grace, I would love to attend that.
The Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria was founded in 2003 and chartered in 2023. Hamad Jabani, NTA News.
And now to the agricultural sector. Minister of Agri and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, has delivered of assorted food to Borno State as directed by President Bola Tinubu. The food items are to assist the victims of September 9 flood disaster in the state. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
Food, water, shelter and clothing are the bare necessities of anyone's survival. These hard-earned resources of some people in Maiduguri, Borno State, were either washed away or destroyed by the September 9, 2024 flood. While the victims are being sheltered in camps and others returning home, the federal government is supporting them with a variety of food. Abubakar Kyari, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, delivered 6,000 tons of food consisting of rice, maize, millet and sorghum to the state governor, Professor Babagana Umar Zulum.
We have already mandated the National Nigerian Agricultural Development Fund, which is a new organization that was set up barely a year and a half ago, to come into the aid of the farmers. That fund was set up to address some of these issues in terms of increased ramping up production of agriculture, but at the same time to see where, if there are issues like this, where there's intervention that is needed to boost agricultural production.
The state governor, Professor Zulum, thanked the federal government for the gesture, promising judicious distribution of the food items.
We have categorized the distribution into two. The first one is those that are living in the camps. Each beneficiary will receive 25 kg bag of rice and a spaghetti. While within the community, we intend to give 25 kg bag of rice or 50 kg bag of maize, and then a carton of spaghetti or beans, amongst others.
He said the destruction done to agriculture in the state is huge, and the affected hectares of unharvested farms are yet to be ascertained. To this end, the federal and Borno state governments will constitute a committee to verify how to improve food production in the state. A letter to that effect was presented to the governor. The committee will work with the National Agricultural Development Fund. From Maiduguri, Borno State, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And the Renewed Hope Initiative, RHI, wife of the Nigerian President, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has extended a helping hand to those affected by flood disaster in Maiduguri and environs. State coordinator of the program, who is also the wife of Borno State Governor, Dr. Falmata Babagana Umar Zulum, led the distribution exercise and warned the victims against selling the items. Pauline Kuje Vana has details.
Babagana Umar Zulum kai ya iya lura da jama'ansa.
the Renewed Hope initiative, essential food and non-food items were distributed to the displaced flood victims taking refuge at Gubbio camp, which is currently hosting over 20,000 individuals and 4,000 households. Dr. Falmata Babagana Umarazulu, wife of the Borno State Governor and State Coordinator of the RHI, urged the recipient not to sell the items but use them to cushion the effect of the flood disaster.
These materials brought today will go a long way in alleviating the hardship of our people. We intend to sustain this, inshallah.
Food items and non-food items distributed to each of the beneficiaries include 25 kg of rice, a pack of spaghetti, cooking oil, kettle, pomade, bucket, net, and seasoning. The people of Maiduguri are grateful for this timely intervention by the Renewed Hope initiative amidst the flood devastation. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
65 hectares of degraded land areas and other troubled by gully erosions in Gombe State has been restored, with another 35 hectares or more expected to be recovered by the end of 2024 through the federal government agri-cell intervention. Charles Alpha reports.
At the heart of the northeastern states in Nigeria is Gombe, a place where every landmark narrates the tale of a community striving for peace, economic prosperity, and development. Yet, over 200 active gullies creating a tapestry of degradation and devastation have confronted promising communities with humanitarian crisis of enormous scale. About 8,640 persons from 720 households were reported to be directly at risk of losing their houses. But just when hope seemed lost, the federal government, through its agro-climatic resilience in semi-arid landscapes agri-cell, a federal government project supported by the World Bank, intervened. This intervention came in the form of concrete work and backfilling, a 21-kilometer drainage for these areas.
God just supported us through agri-shells. He supported us to clean our tears. When they came, we were thinking whether they were joking, whether they were just playing.
It's actually going to cause flooding, and it will make it difficult for our children to pass through the gully. Now everything it's okay.
I want to thank agri-cell for bringing this intervention to our community.
Not only has the federal government restored 65,000 degraded land in Gombe State, it is also growing seeds for afforestation across affected areas, with the people encouraged to plant trees to green more areas and mitigate flood and the erosion menace. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Now, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has released fresh update on flood devastation and casualties in states and local government areas across the country. A statement issued on the 20th of September 2024 indicates that 1,105,265 persons have been affected, with 643,939 displaced from their homes, while 100,260 houses have been destroyed, with 285 deaths recorded nationwide. It further revealed that 2,583 injuries were sustained and 129,548 hectares of land washed away, with 190 local government areas and 31 states affected. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Frama Panyi, and Hannah Olayanka has been the sign language interpreter.